It's the casual and hip regard for supporting Palestine and the allure of slogans that I think makes schooling so difficult and has led to an automatic knee jerk support for the slogans like from the river to the sea, and therefore the danger, particularly with the failure of lessons like PHSE, religious studies, which are taught for the most part, even in schools where there's a specialist. They're given to people who have a casual and sparse understanding of what they're teaching. So, for example, Judaism in a religious studies um, set of sessions is probably linked to Christianity and probably dismissed as simply the Old Testament. It's not acceptable. Judaism should be treated in its own right. Children should know what Yom Kippur is about, just as they know what Pesach and Passover is about. But in most schools, in most primary schools and secondary schools, I would challenge most children to be able to tell me what Hanukkah is, except that it's a Jewish form of Christmas, which is an absurdity. Hanukkah is a festival of lights and commemorates the incredibly brave and defiant stand against the increasing Hellenization of the world. The Hellenic battle effectively won. And I also find it extraordinary that people assume that the language of the Roman Empire was Latin. Latin was the language of law and of the army. The language which people spoke was Greek because of the strength of this Greek influence in the ancient world, in the centuries immediately before Christ and immediately after Christ. That's why the Bible is in Greek. And that's why the New Testament is in Greek. That's why the Septuagint was translated, because of the extraordinary influence of Greek. But as I say, this sort of knowledge seems specialist, whereas I simply regard it as general knowledge. And it's without that knowledge, the rise of antisemitism is inevitable. And if the only things that children know about are the Holocaust and there all they know about is the boy in the striped pajamas, or the only other thing they know about is Israel, it's not enough. And similarly, Islam, there isn't enough education about Islam. Children should leave school. Children should leave primary school with a clear knowledge about the varieties of Islam and the fact that Islam is a religion of peace. They should also leave school with the knowledge that there are a variety of Christianities, a variety of denominations. And again, it's about incredibly poor teaching. So on the one hand, I think there's a serious problem with the teaching of religion in schools, and this leads to not only anti-Semitism but Islamophobia. It also leads to a misunderstanding of our culture, our heritage. Teaching religion isn't about teaching belief. Teaching religion is about encouraging neighborliness, is about encouraging an understanding of each other, is about encouraging a perception of the way our great religions have influenced the development of our society. At the same time, Sacha Baron Cohen, I think, is absolutely right that TikTok among other social media platforms, is responsible for encouraging a rise in anti-Semitism because it fails to stop these posts. It fails to prevent these posts. And he says rampant anti-Semitism is a common problem that TikTok has failed to address for too long. Quite right. All TikTok needs to do is flick a switch. And in fact, the TikTok executives met with Jewish celebrities a couple of days ago, and Deborah Messing and others. And the New York Times reported this meeting. And in response, TikTok simply said, creators, civil society, human rights experts, and stakeholders listen to their experiences and feedback on how TikTok can remain a place of community, discovery, and sharing authentically. So they're not going to do anything, and they could do a great deal. What we need to do today is to protect our communities, and that involves education, and it involves some sort of protection. And when children, particularly, are obsessed with social media should be protecting them. They're not. It's not. And it's a battleground.